Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Andrew Yang, and we're going to talk about the rapper entrance. All right. So recently, I was watching Andrew Yang in Iowa, right? And he is turning some laser focus on Iowa, and the reason why is he has to, right? Iowa, because of the Iowa caucuses, Iowa is incredibly important, right? Remember, every Iowan is worth 1,000 Californians, right? Because of when they come in the election cycle, right? So it's important, right? So he gave a speech in Iowa. I think there were 14,000 Iowans at this speech, right? And so he walked out onto this stage, and there was a gigantic banner behind him, and they were playing Return of the Mac, right? Great song, right? Every single politician out there now is now, remember, Yang is a leader. He's not really a politician yet, but he is heading toward there. He's trying to be a politician, right? And so every politician is using this song, Return of the Mac. It sounds great, right? It's an awesome entry song, right? It's just like, hey, I'm here, like, behold, right? The song itself, just gets people hyped, and you're excited about who's going to show up on stage, right? So I watched this, and Andrew Yang walks on the stage. I could not believe it, right? He walks forward, right? Real confident stride, right? He has a particular stance. He throws his arms out for a moment, like he's in the shape of a cross, right? And he does this motion with his hands, and his face is like there's no smile, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Like immediately I perk up. I'm a huge rap fan, right? I think it was 1973 is the birth of rap, right? The birth of hip hop, right? Hip hop, rap, pretty much synonymous, right? And I think it was DJ Herc back in the day, like crazy early rap, music, right? And since then, like, my list is very, very long, right? Like DMX, Mos Def, Heavy D, Vanilla Ice, JayZ, Snoop Dogg, and I like the new stuff too, right? Migos, Drake, Eminem, he's a little old and new, right? There's Bad Bunny's really good. There's a lot of, there's great rappers throughout the ages, right? Soulja Boy, I liked him. So there's a lot of great rappers out there, and rap is its own thing, and I also love them. I love rap because it's an element of Americana, right? It's like baseball and jazz and comic books, man. It's our thing, but we gave it to the world. Now the world thanks us for it, right? It's a really cool thing, right? And when I saw Andrew Yang came out, I saw every piece, right? So I'm like, whoa, that is a JayZ stance with a Bad Bunny cold face, and those are Drake hand flourishes. Boom, right? And I'm like, it's a rapper entrance. I'm like, this is a rapper entrance. Holy crap, and it was really cool to me, right? Because one of the reasons why I love politics is when you are looking at somebody who's trying to be president of the United States of America, you had best recognize, right? They are communicating on like 15 levels, right? They are communicating with their motion. They are communicating with their clothes. They are communicating with their expression. They are communicating with their presence. They are communicating with their words. They are communicating with every single aspect they can, right? And, and so it was, like Yang hadn't even said a word yet, but he had said a lot, right? He had projected confidence. He had projected strength. He had projected a little bit of danger, right? Like, that's all things that rappers are, like, super good at projecting, right? And there's a lot here. We really need to unpack this, right? We need to unpack Andrew Yang's rapper entrance, why it exists, and what it means. So let's do it, all right? So let's get into this, all right? So first of all, I want to talk to you a little bit about information technology, what I do, right, and a job I had previously, right? So this doesn't happen at my current job, but this happened at a previous job I had, right? So we'd be building an application, right, as a team, right? Now, and basically, the team would get to a point where they needed some work done by a developer, Now, in the IT world, developers are the rock stars of that world, right? And so essentially, we would need a developer to do something for the project, right? And there was 2 ways to do that. So every IT team, right, it has 2 types of members. It has hardy members and it has shiny members, right? And by the way, there is always at least 2 hardy members to every shiny member. Shiny members are rare, right? All right, so and I'm just going to call them hardy people and shiny people, right? And so every time you needed to get a developer to do a task for your project that was a one-off, that had to happen like within the next day, the next 24 hours, there was 2 ways to get that task done, right? You could have a hardy person do it, right? And here's how they do it. They would sit down at their desk and they would write a long email and they would say, hey, we need you, the developer, to do this task within the next 24 hours. We need you to push off all the other work from your projects and do this task. And the reason you should do this task is this, application we're building, it's going to be integral to making this system work, and this system work. Or it'll be integral to improving this system. Or it'll be it'll help us to cut out all these steps in a process, right? And so you would make a very tactical, succinct, logical argument why it really was important that this developer do this task over their other work, right? Because everybody needed a developer, to work on their thing, right? So, and you need this right away, right? Because if you get this developer code, right, your project's going to release 2-3 weeks earlier, right? So you need to get this done, right? So you could craft that email, make a logical case for why this needs to be done, send that over, right? And I saw that happen plenty of times, and many developers would hop right to it and say, oh yeah, I don't want you guys to be. I want to make sure that we get those those steps taken out of this process so our customers are served better, blah blah blah, right? And so it worked some of the time, right? But then there was the other part. So if you had a shiny person on your team, you could do it the shiny person way, right? The shiny person would walk over to the developer, and the shiny person would say, hey, developer. And first of all, they wouldn't ask about the code that was needed. They would say, hey, developer, how's your dog doing? And the developer would say, oh, my dog, my dog was bit, and my dog is recovering. And we don't know if it was like a raccoon or another dog, but he had to get shots and he's been freaked out all week. But I think my dog's okay, and I really appreciate you asking. Thanks, right? And then the shiny person would say, they would give a big smile, right? Oh, by the way, what's a shiny person? Let's talk about this, right? Oh, let's talk about what is a hardy person and what is a shiny person. They have attributes, right? Hardy people are capable, they're reliable, and they're useful. Okay, so those are the attributes for a hardy person. Okay? A shiny person, they're always the same, right? They are young, thin, symmetrical. Pick 2. You don't even need all 3, just 2. Right? That's enough to make you a shiny person in this world. Right? So the shiny person would give a big smile, right? And then after having asked about the dog, then they would say, okay, hey, I know you're busy. Can you do this thing for us, right? And the developer, would look at his, the developer would look at the long list of things that the developer had to do, right? And then they would look up again, and the shiny person would give a big smile, right? And the developer would say, of course, I'll take care of that right away, right? 2 ways to get things done, right? Now, why are we talking about hardy people and shiny people, right? Well, guess what? Rappers are incredibly important people in America, right? By the way, I know there are rappers outside of America, but we invented it, right? All rappers outside of America are just like iterations. They're not the source, right? The source for rap is America, right? And so, yeah, and they come along, they're doing what we do, right? They're iterating what we do, but they're not innovating it, right? We innovated it. We invented it, right? So, and here's the thing. With American rappers, right? Rappers did something pretty incredible. They made it so that if you're a rapper and you do what a rapper does, right? Or if you even look like a rapper, right? If you are even projecting rap energy, right? then you can be a shiny person with as little as one of those things, right? Maybe even zero, right? Like, that's pretty incredible, right? So, like, Biggie is a perfect example. Biggie, he wasn't thin or symmetrical, right? He was young, and he wasn't even that young, right? But Biggie was a shiny person, right? And so that's why you see Andrew Yang using this rap entrance. He is using shiny person tactics before he drops the hardy person tactics on you, right? And he has to do both. He has to be a shiny person, and he has to be a hardy person. What the heck? Why? Why does he have to do this, right? So guess what? This is all our fault. This is all America's fault, right? So I'm part of the problem here. I try to recognize when I'm part of the problem, right? All of us as Americans, we point our finger at politicians. We go, look at those crocodiles, right? They're doing in deals, and they're like, taking big money, and they do things that are self-serving, and they're not really in it for the people. They're in it for the lobbyists and for their own little corner of the world and to help them, right? And we have this really, very strong, robust finger pointing going on, and we're like, hey, you politicians are, you all need to be better, right? We like politicians are like reporters, right? They're just not, and like lawyers, right? That's three vocations that absolutely are in need of goodwill at the macro level. Those that ain't like kindergartners and dog walkers and like kindergarten teachers and dog walkers and veterinarians. Those vocations they desperately need goodwill, right? Excuse me. Right. So and that's the thing, right? Is we point fingers at politicians, but the reality is there is a flow that goes the other way, right? And I think that Andrew Yang is not doing that rapper entrance because that's his natural state, right? A rapper entrance in front of 14,000 people, that has JayZ stance, Bad Bunny cold face, and Drake flourishes. That is not Andrew Yang's natural state. It is not, right? This is a dude who's good at math, right? You don't get as good as he is at math, like, practicing the things I just talked about, right? Like, you can't have that much presence. And you know how I know that, right? You know how I know he doesn't have that? Because there's only so much time in the day, right? If you're crazy good at school, you ain't that cool, period, right? So this rapper entrance, I guarantee you, this was practiced. This was taught to him, right? He didn't know how to do this. Are you kidding? You don't learn this from going to, you do not learn a rapper entrance from going to 2 Ivy League schools, then running then being a CEO, and then running a benevolence fund. None of those things are cool, right? All of those are very, very hardy person, not shiny person, right? And so this rapper entrance, this is something that has been put onto him, right? Now, why is he doing it, right? Now, the need for it is, we as Americans, what is the need? Why does he have to do this, right? Because we demand it, right? We as Americans are now demanding that our politicians are hardy people and shiny people simultaneously, right? Back in the old days, you could have one, right? You didn't have to do both, right? There are definitely shiny people presidents, right? People just like, I would say Theodore Roosevelt, right? That dude was a shiny person. He wasn't hardy, right? Like, people liked him, right? And that's the thing, right? So there's two ways to get things done. And now we are demanding, right, that our politicians are both hardy and shiny, right? So Andrew Yang is doing this because he has to do this. He has to do this, right? And he has to project confidence. He has to project strength. He has to project a little bit of danger, right? And the reason why is when you walk into these events, man, I remember when Andrew Yang came to Philadelphia, right? These were his people. They were hyped, man. They wanted to be riled up and not let down, right? And you need that big rap energy to do that, right? And that's the thing. These events, they're like rap concerts. Like it's crazy, right? And the other reason why I believe this is Bernie Sanders, right? I read an article that was saying Bernie Sanders people for years were saying, Bernie, you got to get more presence, right? You have to be better with the charisma, right? Be less grumpy. Kiss more babies, shake more hands, right? Stop pointing your finger. All these kind of things. His people begged him for years, right? You've got to get this presence part down, right? And you've got to stop doing what you want to do and do what we're telling you to do, right? And guess what? Bernie did not get it done in 2016, and he ain't going to get it done in 2020 because he doesn't listen, right? And as Americans, we demand it both. We want brilliance and we want shiny, right? We want hearty and shiny at the same time, right? We want it all in one candidate, and it is an amazingly selfish ask. It is incredibly selfish for us as Americans to be demanding this of our candidates, right? Now, let me be super clear. I have no problems with Andrew Yang doing this, right? So wait. We let me keep focused here, right? We talked about why he had to do this, right? And the other one is, what does it mean? It means you win, right? Like, you've got to do this now. You have to be hearty and shiny at the same time, right? And that's what we're finding, right? And honestly, the people who aren't, they're going to struggle. They are really going to have to struggle, right? They're going to have to be extra hearty. And frankly, it may not be possible to be an American president if you are just hearty. You have to be shiny. And so Andrew Yang is attaching shiny elements to himself, right? Like Andrew Yang, he really doesn't have all of those shiny attributes, right? So he's going the rapper route, right? Where you could become a shiny person without all the shiny elements, right? And so it's an incredible demand from us from us as Americans that we are demanding it. Why are we demanding it? It's because of our modern times, right? The ubiquitous camera now, right? We're all used to Instagram, and we're all used to, and we've seen celebrities project this shiny person world for so long that we want it in everything, right? I remember Michael Bennett. Oh my gosh, that poor guy, right? Passionate, smart, great plans. I looked at that dude, and then I heard his voice, and I'm like, this guy couldn't sell shoes in America. There's no way he's going to go anywhere, right? And he didn't, right? No shiny person elements, right? And can you imagine Michael Bennett figuring out how to do a rapper entrance? No, he never did, and that's why he's gone, right? You've got to make sure you're hearty and shiny. Now, where am I going with all this? What does this have to, what should Andrew Yang do? What does this mean for his campaign? All right, I'll tell you right now, nothing, right? Nothing, right? Andrew Yang doesn't have to do anything. I'm talking about this day today for one reason, and it has to do with you, and it has to do with me, right? We need to acknowledge that our demands on these candidates are outrageous. Our demands for these candidates, we want tax records. We want to destroy their privacy. We demand that they are both charismatic and brilliant at the same time. We want absolute perfection. If they get a single word out of place, we mock them. We question their mental state, right? Like, it's nuts, right? There's fingers pointed at them all the time, right? And so, yes, the politicians as a group have failed us as Americans, right? They have been in the swamp too long, and they do terrible things, right? As a group, right? But the reality is we are not blameless. We are not. We as Americans, our requests and our demands are simply outrageous, right? Bernie should be able to run in the grumpy, style that he likes. He can't, right? Americans won't let him, right? That's why he's going to lose again in 2020, exactly like he lost in 2016, right? He never developed the rapper entrance, right? But Andrew Yang did. So one, you and I need to really, really own the fact that our requests for these candidates are absolutely outrageous and we require too much of them. And then the last thing I'm going to say, right, is thank you, Andrew Yang, for what you are doing. I truly, truly appreciate it. I do not believe for 1 second that rapper entrance you used in Iowa was your own base nature. I think you are putting things onto yourself that you should not have to do, and it is incredibly difficult. And I think you are pouring your blood, sweat, tears, and soul into this election, and I am incredibly thankful. I am truly, truly thankful for the sacrifices Andrew Yang continues to make, right? And he's doing it in the right way. He's doing it with following the law Payne rule, right? In this election, you've got to do everything except two things. You cannot break the law, and you cannot directly harm people, right? And that's what he's doing, right? I don't think for 1 second Andrew Yang wanted to learn a rapper entrance, right? But he did it. And the reason why is beyond the law Payne rule, there are no limits. No limits, right? And I am incredibly, incredibly thankful to Andrew Yang that there seems to be no bottom to the amount of wackadoo things that he's willing to do to deliver for us, and I am incredibly, incredibly thankful for it. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.